Yes. My question for you is, how long did you write for Western Publishing Gold Key?
How long?
Yes.
I started shortly after Boris Karloff died, and the way I can pinpoint that, I was working. Forey Ackerman had a book he was putting out called The Franken-Science Monster right after Boris Karloff died, and he wanted to fill it with all kinds of articles about Karloff. And I thought, well, Karloff made a lot of comic book appearances, and there even was a Boris Karloff comic book, which was a spin-off from the Thriller comic book he did. And so I called Western Publishing Company, and I said, can you let me look at some old comics and tell me the names of artists and things? So I went down there, and I met the editors, and I said, look, if you ever, I'm a writer, I'd like to do some comics writing for you or something. And they said, well, we have nothing now, because Western was a really loyal company. They wanted to have all their freelancers make a living. And so if you said, hey, I got a friend who's a writer, in fact, I did this once when I got established there. I said, because people, once you get a gig, all your friends start pressuring you they want to get a piece of the action. So nice guy me, I said, okay, my friend here, he'd like to write some scripts. And he said, and the editor sat me down, he said, you know, I got to be honest with you, we really like you personally, we really like your work. If we bring another writer in, that's going to might cut into your income, maybe half, and we want you to be able to support your family. We're not loyal to this person, we're loyal to you. So they didn't even look at the other guy's scripts. But right after that, right after the Karloff thing, he said, I'll call you if we ever have an opening. And about 6 or 7 months later, I got a call from Chase Craig, who was the editor-in-chief. He said, we need somebody to write text stories, fiction and nonfiction. These are the ones they put in the comics so they would get the mailing privileges, the second-class mailing privileges back then. And so I said, okay, and it was the same deal. We had so many lines per page, and so many characters per line, so you had to set a typewriter for that. And so I wrote a few of those, and then an opening came up at the comics. They started a comic book called Mystery Comics Digest. And they said, want to try one out? They liked what I did, and that led to them putting me on what became Dagar, Dr. Spector, and Trag, and all those. So I worked for Western on those comics until they all got canceled at one point. They just stopped their comic book line out there, and of everything. And that would have been around 1979, maybe 80, right around there. And then they called me back to do a couple of fill-in things that they were just rounding out some issues. And then about 2 or 3 years after that, when Western boiled down to one person in their West Coast office, he had some project for me, I can't remember what it was, and he called me down and I did that. So early 80s, so from about 1969 or 70 to about 10 years, that whole decade.
Oh, 10 years. Thank you.